Well, good afternoon and welcome to Voices of Faith, Transforming the Community, better known as SAP, the mission of SAP, Saginaw African American Pastors. We are a Christian faith group dedicated to addressing racial, social, health, and economic justices at every level with faith, strength, and boldness in order to ensure that racial equity is the experience of all citizens in Saginaw County. And so basically, in a nutshell, what we do is we engage, we advocate, and we collaborate. We engage in intentional conversations because we know they're necessary. We advocate for systemic changes because those are necessary. And we collaborate. The Saginaw African American Pastors will collaborate with anybody whose intent really is to transform our community. My name is Dr. Craig Tatum. I serve as pastor for New Life Baptist Ministries and president for Saginaw African American Pastors. And again, I want to give a quick shout out to Saginaw Bay and Midland. Again, our listeners, we are so grateful to you. Take a minute to like and share. Today, I have one of Saginaw's heroes back with us on today in the person of Dr. Delicia Pruitt. And we are going to continue a conversation we started several weeks ago about health. Now, many of you that were with us last week, you know, we had Dr. Toby Long in and Dwayne Park, and we're talking about men's health, a very crucial issue. But let's be very honest. We also have to make sure that the caregivers, the caretakers in our family are getting due diligence just as well, better known as the women in our houses. And so again, the guest today is Dr. Delicia Pruitt. She has been working in Saginaw County for nearly 20 years, and she assumed the role as medical director, I believe, for Saginaw County Department of Health in 2020, just about the time that we got swamped with COVID. And she was very instrumental in leading many charges for vaccinations with the pastors and others to get Saginaw healthy and back on track. And ever since then, she's hit the ground running, and Saginaw is better. But that doesn't mean that we don't have challenges.
Right.
And so part of our conversation today is really to focus on women and women's health. Now, just so you understand, the Bible does say, and permit me to use the Bible, it says, "Beloved, I wish that you were in good health, even as your soul prospers." So what does God really want for us? God wants us to be healthy. He wants us to have peace and contentment in our lives. And we can't have that when we've got multiple or a myriad of health challenges. So let me welcome someone who is more than capable to talk about women's health on the day in the person of Dr. Delicia Pruitt. Welcome. We're glad to have you today.
Thank you so much, Pastor. It's just so important for us to talk about women and women's health because women are part of every aspect of society, and we're like the glue to hold things together, right? I mean, like women are in the church doing the work, right? And in the families, and we have so many single moms who are taking care of everything. So to take care of yourself and your health is so important.
And it's important for us to understand, as we said on last week, we've got to learn to be stewards of ourselves first. True. You will not be of any use to anyone when you're not taking your medications, you're not getting rest, you're not eating well, you're not exercising, and you've put some very phenomenal things in place over the last couple years. I just want to throw one out that we talked about earlier, Walk with a Doc.
Right.
We're going to talk about that a little bit later.
Okay.
But I want people to understand that we've got to, number one, take care of ourselves. That means not skipping the medications. Make sure you're eating healthy, not eating a lot of processed fast foods. So let's just jump into the conversation. And let me just ask, so what are some of the issues facing women today?
Well, I don't know if people would be very surprised to hear this, but 1 out of 3 women in the United States have intimate partner violence.
Wow.
And so that is very high. And they say about 50% of this is underreported. So we really don't know the exact numbers of what is happening to women. And so a lot of times they're not very open to talk about it, the intimate partner violence. And so sometimes if we have some hints that something may be wrong, we can can talk to women about that in the clinic.
Mhm.
Sometimes they come to pastors and talk to them about
Absolutely.
that, and
Absolutely.
that could be a resource for them. And you would be surprised, but even young women in their teens and 20s have this in dating relationships that they're in.
Wow.
And so a lot of times when we talk about health, yes, having your mammogram done every year is important, or every 2 years. And if you have a family history, having it done every year is important. And yes, having your pap smears done, because the mammogram checks for breast cancer and the pap smear checks for cervical cancer. But then we need to be looking out for women who may be in trouble in this special way with intimate partner violence.
And I think it's critical to understand that it is not okay for someone to put their hands on
That's
you.
correct.
It is not okay for someone to verbally assault you.
That's
It
correct.
is not the norm. And stop allowing those that do that to say, well, he didn't mean it.
Or give him a pass, right?
There you go.
No.
Because if he did it once, he'll do it again.
Correct.
And, we need to particularly say that to young ladies that are dating, because I know that's a huge issue. It is not okay when a person loses their cool and slap you, or, grip you very tight, squeeze your hand or bend it or things like that. That is not healthy. And for you to hide that, you're becoming an enabler. And we see that a lot. And let me say this to pastors as well. One of the things that I've discovered in my nearly 30 years of pastoring is there are some things that are beyond my professional ability.
That's correct.
And I have no problem saying, hey, I hear you. And let me just say this as well. Prayer is not going to be the only thing.
That's correct.
We can come in and pray, but now I need to make sure I get you some help. And I think it's critical for us to understand as pastors, we're not the catch-all. We've got to learn when we're beyond our professional expertise and reach out to someone. And we've got to be honest. Having people come in and pray, fine. But now point me to somebody that can help me, because if we don't do that, we're just as guilty as everybody else.
Right. And prayer is wonderful, but sometimes counselors need to come in and help.
Absolutely.
Sometimes law enforcement need to come in and help.
Yes.
There are a lot of things that need to be done. So we have to use the resources available to us in order for us to really get the person the help that they need.
Well, at the end of the day, for me, and I hope parents hear this, and I hope those that are listening, men and women, because, physical abuse sometimes is both ways.
Correct.
All right. And sometimes we don't want to admit it because we're participating just as well.
Right.
But the issue today really is pointing the spotlight on women and abuse.
Correct.
And we need you to understand that there is a life beyond this person, that this is not the norm. You should not accept it. And, what it means is you've got to be willing to reach out to individuals that someone you can trust.
So
what's another problem with women in our country or in our community?
In our country too, is that obesity is a problem for women, especially Black women. Black women has the highest rate of obesity, approximately double of that of the other races.
Wow.
And for non-Hispanic Black females, we're at 56.9% obese. And so that is a high number compared to others. Also, when you look at Hispanic women, 44% obese. And then non-Hispanic, we are the non-Hispanic Blacks are at 56.9%. So when we look at that, we go, okay, what is causing this and what can we do to help? And like you said, we have the Walk with a Doc program, and we also have Girls Trek program in the different churches that people can walk. But in our culture, there's an understanding that you still can look good and be on the chunkier side of life. I think and we're used to that. But we have to know that obesity increases our risk for disease. And so for chronic disease, like diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease of any kind. And so when we know that, then when we know better, we do better. And so when we know that, then we have to start working on that. A lot of us, which one of us doesn't know anybody that doesn't have diabetes in our family, right? So we're all at risk. So obesity puts us at risk for that. It is what we call the precursor. That's the beginning thing to chronic disease.
Okay.
So we can start working on that. I'm not saying you don't look good, because I know you look good. I'm not saying that you are not, a good looking person. What I'm saying is the higher your BMI, the more at risk you are for chronic disease state. And most people, if they lose about, I don't know, 5% of their body weight, 10% of their body weight, it decreases the risk of diabetes and high blood pressure.
And so what that means is, there again, we've got to come back to this cultural thought of it's okay to eat greens and pig feet and all these things there within moderation, cut off the salt, all the other things. We've got to have a shift in our mindset. And if you're not willing to do that, then you're going down a path that's not going to be good. I always say this, that our destiny is determined by our decisions.
Wow.
And so we've got to learn how to make better decisions. Now, we know Toby Long, who works for Great Lakes Bay Health Center, said last week that women, at one point, that the life expectancy rate was only about a 3-year difference. Now, women are now outpacing men living by about somewhere between 6 and 10 years. 6 and 10, which means that there's been a huge change, not only in men's health, but there's still some issues with women. And so for us, we've got to make sure that women understand you're not just living for you. You're living for your husband. You're living for your significant other. You're living for your children. You might be the caregiver for your parents, not to mention your impact in our community and schools. And so women, we need you to do better.
We do. And, it's a self-care issue. And, I sometimes think about, like, when I grew up, you think about, like, a good woman takes care of her family. She makes the food. She does this and that. And we have an idea of what a good woman is.
Right.
But never did someone say a good woman has good self-care.
Gotcha.
Right. And so I think in our culture, we don't talk a lot about self-care. Taking time to say, I need to go to the gym.
Right.
I need to we talk about prayer. That's good, because prayer is good. And we talk about reading the Bible. That is good too.
Right.
But taking care of this temple that God gave us, that we only have one.
Of course.
And then if we mess it up, it doesn't respond too good. Once you have a heart attack or whatever, it's hard to respond from that. So to get back to normal, what we have to do is start taking care of ourselves. To get our temple to where it's supposed to be, we need to say, you know what? We're supposed to be exercising 150 minutes per week.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
Do we do that? And that's supposed to be medium intensity exercise. That means you're exercising. You can't sing a song. That's how hard you're supposed to be exercising. Do we take time out to do that kind of thing? Do we just take time out to enjoy the everyday? I had to tell myself, because I'm busy running here, there, everywhere. I had to tell myself, enjoy something each day.
There you go.
Have something that you enjoy, because when you're a mom and you're doing that and this and this and that, you go, it's no time for me. But really, true godliness is to take care of the temple that he gave us.
And I think that's critical for people to understand. We become so consumed with, and I'll use the word busyness, that our schedules are so inundated with being so busy that we really don't repair, we don't rest, we don't relax. And because of that, those, as you say, are things that bring on all these. Okay, if you're not resting, relaxing, that means your mind never gets a chance to just kind of decompress.
Yes, recover.
You don't get a chance, right?
Yeah.
Because I got to get up in the morning. My son's got to go to soccer practice. Got to go to this at the church. Got to do this here. I'm on this committee. I got to do this. Got to go check on mama. At some point, you got to take some time to say, you know what, this next hour, I'm just going to take this time to relax. I'm going to do something that I enjoy doing. And like you say, something like walking, something like just sitting on the porch.
Taking a hot bath.
There you go.
I mean, whatever it is, it doesn't have to cost money, but it's something that you enjoy doing, reading a book, doing something that you enjoy each day, to say, I'm going to take a little time to take care of me. A lot of times as women, we have to ask, what is our why? Because if we don't do it, I always say, if your father called you, or if your son or your daughter called you and said, I need you right now, mama, you stop everything and do it, right?
Right.
But what if you need you right now?
There you go.
We sung a song when we were a kid. It's me, oh Lord, standing in need of prayer. Mama, daughter, who's not doing self-care, you are standing in the need of prayer right now. You need, not my mama, but my papa, but it's me, oh Lord. That's you saying, you need to say, I need me to take care of me, because if you don't take care of yourself,
Mm-hmm.
who's going to take care of those other people?
And I think this is so critical. I'm going to go back to it. There's got to be the why factor.
Yes.
I think you said this in our previous conversation, but I'll say it again. Why do I exist?
Yes.
And yes, you can be a mother. Yes, you can be a wife. Yes, you can be this to ministry and other places. But what fulfills you?
Yes.
And often we go through life ministering and helping others without knowing our real purpose, and then burnout ensues, and then we just lose everything. So how can we help people begin to understand the significance of that?
I think you have to actually do what I call strategic planning.
Mm-hmm.
And you sit down and say, you know what, I want to lose 20 pounds in all next year. And you write down and say, these are the things I'm going to do to lose this weight. And Pastor, most time people start off with, I'm going to do the 1 month goal and then the 5 month goal, 1 year goal. No, start with the 1 year. What is the end point that you want to be? And then move your goals toward that. And this is the thing, you're going to mess up. This is really important. Moms, daughters, you're going to mess up when you try to lose weight, when you try to go to the gym, when you try to take some self-care time, you're going to say, I can't do it. And you're going to give up, but you got to keep trying again, because, just like any habit that's not good,
Right.
You kind of fall back, and then but you tweak your plan until you find something that works.
Your mom, when we did Girls Trek at the Dr. Rufus Bradley Senior Mission in the City Park,
yes,
we started that, and your mom says, you know what, I'm going to make it around.
Yes.
And what inspired me was that she walked, I think she had a walker that day.
Yep.
But she walked around, and when she got tired, she sat down a minute, got back up, and continued, because she wanted to demonstrate that when you've got a will, you can succeed. And I think we need to encourage women to understand that you've got to be so determined that nothing will stop you from achieving that goal. And like you said, yes, sometimes, just like with brothers, sometimes we start out well,
right,
but then we get distracted.
Right.
Sometimes, you work overtime, or sometimes the grass got to be cut, or sometimes this. Still remember your goals. Have those action steps and those many action steps to continue to remind you, I've got to be healthy. My family depends on me.
Yeah.
God requires me to be a good steward. And I think once people start doing that, we're going to see people become successful.
We really will. And, that why is important, but make sure that you're a part of that why. That because you know what? How can you do what God calls you to do if you don't have, you're incapable of doing it because your health is not there. And that's what I want women to do. Think about self-care and why it's important. Now I'm going to squeeze in like the mammogram that we talked about.
Right.
So the mammogram is really important. And for African-American women, I just want you to know that they have found that there are more aggressive cancer in us. So we do need to make sure we get our mammograms done. By the time we find out we have cancer, it's more aggressive at that time.
Okay.
So we need to go ahead. So women sometimes like, I don't like it. It's uncomfortable. It's gotten better. The plates don't squish as much anymore. So it's more comfortable than it was in the past. So if you haven't had your mammogram in a long time, please get your mammogram done, because that's a screener for breast cancer. And like we do now, the pap smears are every 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
And so when we start at age 21, that is for cervical cancer. A lot of people go, I'm fine, I don't have any symptoms. These are like quiet cancers, So this is really important for you to get these screenings done. And then for men and women, age 45 now, for the colonoscopy, or you can get the Cologuard. This is really important because it is a screen for colon cancer. And the earlier you find out about these things, the more likely it is for us to take care of it and it'll be gone. So it's important for us to get our screenings done that we're supposed to have.
Now, and when you talk about that, there again, with the focus is women. Are women doing a better job? Are you seeing more of that when women come in, or is it still an area where we've got to do better?
I think that women have always done a pretty good job of getting
Okay.
screening tests done.
Okay.
The aggressiveness of the breast cancer is something newer for African American women.
Mm-hmm.
So we just have to make sure that if you have a family history, get that mammogram done every year. Don't let somebody talk you into getting it done every other year, because in that middle year, breast cancer could come up and you don't know, and then it becomes more aggressive. But women have always done better than men
Okay.
at getting their preventative health care done.
Right. Right.
I think men wait for a very long time in their 50s to come in and go, I was healthy, doctor, before I saw you. I'm like, really? Because you have diabetes and high blood pressure today. It's
Wow.
almost like they think I caused it. And I go, no, it's because you haven't had your annual exams to get your cholesterol checked and your blood sugar checked. Women have done better, but we can always do more.
And I think, again, as we say to women right now, I hope you're really listening, taking notes. First of all, like and share if you haven't done that.
Yes.
But I think it's critical to understand you have such a vital role in the life of mankind. I don't want to underscore that.
Right.
In most situations, you are the caregiver. You know more about your husband's health than he does.
That is true.
All right. When the kids get sick, they don't come to daddy, they come to
That's
mama.
right.
Okay. Well, they can't come to mom if mom is ill herself. And all we're saying is take time to take care of yourself. Like I said, it could be something so simple as, okay, this is my day off. I'm going to rest a little bit more, or I'm going to garden or something like that. But we really want you to get in the habit of saying, number one, there's nothing wrong with taking care of myself, because if you don't take care of yourself, then everybody else is going to be out of whack just as well.
And I think that women need to pull on their village.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times we can just do it ourselves, and no, pull on a village. If your mom is there, you have brothers or sisters who can watch the kids.
Yes.
While you take 30 minutes to go for a walk, just for your own heart healthiness, then pull on the village to see if they can help out, because this is vitally important to the community, to your family, to so many around you, because you play a very important role.
Well, as we think about that, I want to jump a little bit, and I know we're going to finish this because I see our time is kind of getting ready for a break. But I want to jump a little bit into another critical issue that women often deal with, which is maternal mortality.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about that, and I hope you're taking notes, because we're going to come back on the other side and talk about it as well. But just open it up so we kind of know, give us an idea of how that is helping or how that is evolving in the life of women.
Well, United States has the highest maternal mortality. That means moms dying than all the other westernized countries in the United States. Can you believe that?
Wow.
So we have great health care. People have, some people have insurance, and some of the part of the problem is other people don't have insurance, right? So that continuity, the same amount of care, the continuity of care, it becomes an issue. But compared to the other westernized states, we have a problem. And then in addition to that, Black women are 3 times more likely to die than white women.
Wow.
And Pastor, this is what's so surprising. It doesn't matter the income, how much education, it doesn't matter. Still 3 times more. So if you took white women versus Black women and looked at it, it still doesn't matter. So you think, oh, maybe, she's a doctor, or he's a this, or they have this money, or that makes a difference. It doesn't. Black women are dying still 3 times more than white women. So you think in 2024, people are dying from having a baby? I mean, it's unbelievable. And so we have to look at the reasons why this is happening, and also how to prevent it from happening.
There again, I really hope you're listening to this, because they're critical issues. And while you hear the emphasis on people of color, you need to make sure you're taking notes. Hey, we're going to come back in just a minute. Stay tuned, like and share. We'll be back in just a minute. And we are back again with one of Saginaw's heroes in the person of Dr. Delicia Pruitt. She is the medical director for Saginaw County Health Department. And again, grateful to have her again from Saginaw. So yes, good things and good people come out of Saginaw. So we're grateful. Again, she has come back home to impact this community, and we are grateful. Let me throw this out again because I've been asked this question for those of you that connect with us. If you have questions, put them in the chat line, and we will respond to them. Okay. May not respond right away because we're pre-recorded, but we will respond. If we don't get them this week, which we probably won't, we will respond the following week. I just want you to know that, and I'll continue to say that. Saginaw Bay City and Midland understand that our goal is to make us a healthier healthier region. So on the other end, we were talking about again maternal mortality.
Yes.
And can you kind of repeat some of that again for those that are just joining us?
Right. Let me just say, Pastor, too, that I am so grateful for the pastors just even having this radio show and talking about these issues, because we really, really do need to do better for ourselves. And so maternal mortality is that the United States is number one for maternal mortality
in the world.
Compared to all other westernized countries.
Wow.
And so we have some of the best healthcare, some of the best doctors. We have all this stuff, and yet mothers are dying. And then when you look at it, Black mothers are dying 3 times more. And you go, man, is that really true? But all of us, have either heard about people who've had problems during their pregnancy. I personally had one during my last pregnancy. And so we know that this happens, but to hear that moms are actually dying, more and more news information is coming out about this. And it's heartbreaking because we have the tools and the skills to stop this from happening.
Well, and part of that, talk about the birth, well, not the birth process, but the pregnancy.
Yes.
And is it a fair assumption to say that often we don't do due diligence when it comes to checkups and all those things? Or no?
Yeah. So about 25% of the people here in Saginaw got late prenatal care. And so we know that late prenatal care causes complications with pregnancies. Some of it, though, Pastor, is like access. Sometimes women don't have access to care right away. And so if you are of a certain economics, you may be able to sign up for a Medicaid, and during pregnancy you can sign up for a Medicaid. But if you are right in this gray area where you don't qualify for Medicaid, but you don't make a lot of money, but you make too much for Medicaid, then that's someone who may not have insurance throughout the whole pregnancy, and then their access to care could be an issue. Sometimes the options that you have for care may not be the options that you want. You may not like this doctor or this clinic, and most people with good insurance can just move around to whomever they like. But sometimes when you don't have certain insurances, only certain groups of people, like clinics, take this insurance, and only certain and so you get stuck in a place where you don't like, and then you stop going.
Wow.
A lot of times the people say that doctor-patient interactions can cause people not to come to clinics because they don't like the way that they are treated by healthcare providers. And so sometimes people won't go because of the treatment that they received.
Now unpack that a little bit so people kind of have some idea what you mean when you say that.
So I believe that there is a doctor for everyone, a healthcare provider for everyone. And so say, for instance, you came to see me and you just go, I just really don't like Dr. Pruitt. Then you should be able to say, I'm going to go see a new doctor and be able to see that person. But sometimes because of the insurance you have, you're stuck seeing me, I'm stuck seeing you, and together there's a disconnect that's happening.
Right.
Sometimes that disconnect could be happening because of the type of insurance a person has. So say for instance, you have Medicaid, and some people they didn't want to take more Medicaid people, but somehow you got in. That could be the disconnect there. It could be race issues that could be a disconnect. It could be gender issues that could be a disconnect. So then this disconnect happens, and so you feel like you're getting not treated well, and then you just don't go back to that same doctor and over again. But during a pregnancy, the first 3 months they see you once a month, and then in the second trimester they see you every 2 weeks, and the third trimester they see you every week. If you
Wow.
don't want to meet with your doctor, then you
Mhm.
stop going to those prenatal care, right? And then that's where the problem
Wow.
sets in. Some people, like if you come to my office and you're thinking about having a baby, I tell you, go ahead and start taking prenatal vitamins. You know
Okay.
why? Because if you're trying to have a baby and don't know that you're pregnant, and if you don't take prenatal vitamins, it causes a hole in the baby's spinal cord and cause spinal bifida.
Mm.
So you have to have some of that training and education prior to even conceiving. But
Okay.
most people don't even have that. And right now in the United States in general, there's a shortage of doctors. And so it takes time to get into some offices.
Hmm.
And so you're a pregnant woman. They want you to confirm that you're pregnant. Well, how do you do that outside of taking a pregnancy test at home?
Mhm.
You got to go to a doctor's office, confirm pregnancy, then they refer you out to the OBGYN.
Okay.
So it's those disconnects at different points in the US system where people can have access problems to getting good care.
So what happens if you have an individual, which we know has happened, and you talked about it? What happens when a person just does not trust their doctor? What can they do in that instance, particularly if they're limited by their insurance? What can they do with that?
Well, there are different places. We have Great Lakes Bay takes a lot of most all insurances.
Mhm.
CMU takes a majority of all insurances. And then Covenant, and I'm sure my Michigan too would take different insurances. So what I tell patients all the time is advocate for yourself
Mhm.
and say, if this is not working out, before you just walk into the doctor's office and say, I'm leaving here, I hate you, and just slam the door,
Right.
make sure you got another avenue to go to, just in
Mhm.
case you have strep throat and you need it treated or whatever. You can
Right.
go back to that office, but advocate and say, I don't like this. Whatever the disconnect is, I'm going to go start searching for a new place,
Hmm.
because there are so many other options outside of the one that you have.
Gotcha. And so what it boils down to is you're in charge of your health.
That's
And
right.
so you've got to take charge. You can't just sit back and think the doctor knows everything. You've got to ask questions. So it's always important before you come to the doctor, make sure you write down a list of things you want to
That's
ask.
so important, Pastor. I tell people all the time, people don't understand it, but like in a primary care clinic like mine, I only get 20 minutes to see the patient. So when the MA brings you back and gets your weight and height, and then you guys are talking in the room, you're taking my time to see the patient.
Okay. Didn't know that.
Yes.
Okay. That's good information.
So then, if I'm 10 minutes behind with you, then I'm 10 minutes behind. And you just keep adding. By the time I'm with the last one, I'm 1 hour behind, right?
I got you.
And so this is why you write your questions down ahead of time.
Mhm.
So you can even, sometimes I say, if you print them, hand them to the doctor so they can one by one go through that. Because
Excellent.
what's hard is in that little bit of time we have, you say on the way out the door, by the way, I'm having chest pain. That's hard to deal with because the 20 minutes is up and now I got to
Right.
deal with this issue. We could have dealt with that on the first part of it. What are your problems? What are your complaints? Bring them in, be ready.
Now, and I'll go a step further. My mom she's 89 years old.
Yes.
And so what we've done now, the siblings, what we do now when my mom goes in, first of all, we're always with her.
I love it.
But the other thing that we also do is we put the visit on Zoom.
Oh,
so that other sibs can hear what we hear.
That's great.
And that way, maybe I heard it, but by the time I get home with a busy day and other things, I might forget everything.
That's right.
But if I put the call on Zoom, doctor, is this okay if we do a Zoom conference? When I put one of my sibs on, it works out well because now you've got several other people hearing what I'm hearing. And we all now know, okay, this is what's going on. This is what we believe is going on. And it works well.
I love it because especially when it comes to the older African American woman. A lot of times when they come in by themselves, they're like, I'm not taking this medicine, I'm not doing this, I won't do that, I won't do that. And when the kids come in with them, then all of a sudden there's a spirit of cooperation. All of a sudden there's a spirit of cooperation. So I love it because I don't want any body to think we didn't do the right thing by your mom when your mom was saying no. Right. So it's good for children to be a part of that discussion so that we know this is being taken care of. A lot of times elderly people come into the doctor's office and say, everything's fine.
That's typical.
And without knowing, all the details. So when this is regards, because I want everybody to hear this. It's about the elderly person in your life. Go with them to the elderly female. Go with her to the appointment. She's gonna tell you to be quiet. It's none of your business. Don't say anything. But at least you can say, "Mom, that's not true. Your stomach was hurting last week, or whatever," so that you can be a part of the conversation, because it's really important. Because we want to keep those treasures with us as long as we can.
And let's go a step further. Don't just take them to the office and sit in the waiting room.
Go in the room.
Go in the room just as well. Your mom may forget some things, or she may not tell, or your dad may forget something, or your grandmother, or your aunt or uncle. Ask, is it okay to go as well? Because at least you can be in there to witness, you can interject, you can say, because sometimes they forget. Let's say that as well. But sometimes they're not going to say anything.
Correct.
Right? They think it's the doctor's job to do, okay, well, it looks like you got, chest issues. Well, if you never say anything.
Correct.
Okay. So go in and ask questions. Well, my mom was complaining that she was dizzy last week. Or, my mom was saying she was short of breath, or, she's weak. So doctor, what does that mean? Now what it does is prompts the doctor to engage at a different level.
That's right.
Okay.
If everything's okay. And then one of the things for your elderly mom or dad, be there at the Medicare annual. That's a really important one that we ask questions like, how well are they walking? Do they have a trip hazard? If we find that they're more likely to fall, then we'll refer them to physical therapy just for walking, for balance. So we call that a gait analysis, where they look at how well they walk, and then we'll give them physical therapy to strengthen up the areas that they're weak in. If they're complaining about hearing, we do an audiology test.
Okay.
So in that Medicare annual, we ask them about depression. We ask them about a lot of things, and come to that appointment. That's the yearly annual exam, so that if your mom needs something done, we can get it done for her.
So talk a little bit then about, because all of those things, at the end of the day, as we talk about health, we've talked about a lot of great issues that people are listening, but talk a little bit about stress in the life of people. How does it impact us? How is it, how does that contribute to poor health in the life of the average person?
Right. So there is this theory called the minority stress theory that looks at stress that is particularly towards minority populations. And what they're saying is that because of all the things that are happening around you, you can have violence in the community or your neighborhood. Your kids could be at risk, because we know, like, our sons are at risk here in Saginaw, because of violence here. You can have racism, poor communication with your doctor, being paid. Women get paid less for doing the same work that men do. So that's a problem. Sometimes you're the only person taking care of the whole entire family. So all of these stressors on women and minority people, because the men have their own stress in a different kind of way.
Correct.
Can cause cortisol levels to go up, and just those fight and flight hormones are constantly revving, because you're just constantly under stress. That increases your risk of high blood pressure. That increases your risk of diabetes. That increases your risk of asthma and allergies, because it's an internal inflammatory issue, because you're constantly in this survival state and just ready to just constantly in that fight or flight mode. And so this is why it's so important to find time to rest and find time to take a breath. And in the midst of all of the chaos that could be around you, we know God is good.
Right.
He's helped us through, so he'll help us again.
Correct.
And so this is why we have to be mindful and know that, no weapon formed against us will prosper.
Correct.
Greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. And we have to meditate on these type of things to get our levels down.
And the key there again, I want to make sure people understand, as you're doing all these things, don't forget to take time for yourself. I
This
mean,
is the key.
you know, you're superwoman. You're at the PTA meetings when kids get trouble in school. You go. The husband has to work. You know, mom has some issues. Mom can't figure out where this is. Got to make sure that mom makes her appointments. You know, then you got siblings that deal with issues. Not to mention again, violence in our community,
Yes.
bill issues.
Yes.
And so with all of that, you know, understand that sometimes we're not designed for all this to be dumped on us all at the same time. So you've got to have some way to process. You've got to have some way to communicate with people,
yes,
about the challenges that you have. Now, it doesn't mean that you're weak because you do that. What you're simply saying, sometimes I need to talk some things out. I need somebody to help me figure things out. Doesn't mean that you can't. It just means, okay, I need some people to help me, to reassure me, to encourage me, to be my coach, my cheerleader. And that will, again, downplay some stress. So what are some other things? And we talked earlier about, again, walk with a doc and girls trek. What are some other, talk about those for a minute, but talk about some other things that we can do to alleviate stress.
Okay, so walk with a doc is a time on Thursdays at 5:30 to 6, where we meet outside of the YMCA and we talk about a medical topic, and then we walk for 30 minutes.
Excellent.
And we try to all get in that mile in 30 minutes. So anybody who knows anything about running a mile, 30 minutes is not a fast mile at all. So we try to get 4 laps in 30 minutes. We have some people who walk really fast and just do a couple of miles during that time.
Right.
And we have some people who walk really slow and may only get 1 lap or 2 laps in.
Okay.
At the YMCA outside, there are benches all around where we walk, and you can sit down at any time. So the thing about walk with a doc is it's not about how fast you go or how far you go. It's just that you improve over time. So we have some people in the beginning of the spring. We start in May. We have some people in the beginning of the spring who could barely walk any distance, and by the end they could do 1 lap.
Excellent.
And so that is huge for us. And then we have Girls Trek, which is a program, a national program for Black women, but we welcome all women to come and walk with us.
Correct.
And their whole idea is when 2 or more gather together, then who's in the midst?
There
you know
go.
Who's in the midst.
Absolutely.
And so they want you to not walk by yourself, but a couple of women get together and you guys join in a big group, and then you start walking your own neighborhoods, and safety is in numbers.
Of course.
And we walk in our neighborhoods. Now, the health department has paid churches to have their doors open in order to have walking there too. So you can go on our website and find those specific places. But so there's some indoor walking too that we're going to have. And we hopefully sometime this month have another kickoff for the fall and winter walking, so people can still walk in the inside.
Now, give your website for those that are listening, just in case they don't know. What would be the website?
So we have BeWellSaginaw.org and SaginawPublicHealth.org too. So you could go to both of those and look at our website for the different places where you can walk.
Now, you just did a 2 mile walk, 3 mile walk or something. Talk about that.
Yeah, so we just had a race. And so part of this Be Well race that we have it every year right around this time. And you could have done a 5K walk or run, a 10K walk and run. And then we had something called Turtles and Hares, which was a free walk.
Okay.
So the other ones this is a fundraiser to help us do some of our Be Well initiatives.
Okay.
But the other one was free, and you got actually a medal for this walk too. But it was a free walk that was 3K, and which is like 1 point something miles.
Right.
And you walk through the zoo and and this was like called Turtles or Hare because you could go really fast,
I got you.
or you could go really slow. But it's just that you wanted to be a part of a race, because our whole goal is to make sure that if people want to race, not to have income to stop them from racing.
Right.
So if you can't afford and you have a family, you guys want to walk, you can walk for free in this race. For people who are serious about racing, you know, the time and they're jogging, all that kind of stuff, Pastor, that's not me. But there were some people out there and they could do that race also. So we had a little bit of something for everyone. This year we have food trucks out there for people to eat. So this was really a very very nice event, and we want the people of Saginaw to come out and be a part of it because it's part of our sustainability plan. When we look at young girls in high school and also in junior high school, our African American young girls are also obese, and that's something that we still need to work on. So these are all opportunities that we have. We also had something in the high school called Step Up Saginaw in the school systems. And what it was each school system was competing with the other school system to find out who were the best school systems to do the most exercise. And all you had to do is report your minute of exercise. And the school system with the most won. And so that was, I think, Mirror won, Birch Run won. So some of the other places outside of Saginaw. But we really want to get our Saginaw kids moving.
So, as we get ready to close up here in the next couple minutes, I want you to give women some critical things that they should be doing consistently, and by doing these things, it's going to enhance, it's going to improve your quality of life. What are some things you would recommend that women should be doing going forward?
Yes. So my first recommendation is to exercise that 150 minutes per week. Now, if you can't do that, that's about 20 minutes a day.
Correct.
If you're unable to do that, start where you can and then work yourself up to that time period. Okay. Because sometimes you can't start at the top. You got to start low and then move up slow. So exercising is one of the things that we have to do, which is something that I think in our culture, we don't do as much.
Absolutely.
The second thing is, watch how many sugary drinks that you drink, because there's a lot of studies out there that talk about sugar drinks add so many calories and add no benefit to you at all. It's just plain calories. So just watching the sugary drinks that we consume is really important. And then get more fruits and vegetables in your diet. If you look at the plate at theplate.gov, you will see that half of your plate should be non-starchy fruit or vegetables. And so we need to, even if we can't get fresh fruits and vegetables, getting frozen, even low sodium canned is okay. To make sure half of our plate is with that. If we can make those small changes, exercise, increase the fruits and vegetables, and watch how much sugar we eat, especially sugary drinks, it can make a lot of difference.
And so going from pop to maybe this new waters, they got the various waters
with
out
flavors
there,
in them.
Flavor water, things like that. There again, we spend so much time. We got to have salt in everything. Okay, we got to have salt in everything. Got to have sugar in everything.
Right.
And yet we know those things are so detrimental to our health. We can't. The grocery store can't be the liquor store.
Right. Exactly.
We can't go to the liquor store and think that, okay,
I can get some fresh fruits and vegetables there.
Thank you. Because you're not going to find them there.
And Pastor, one more thing I want to say. I'm so sorry. Fold up the cape.
Say that again.
Fold up the cape.
All right.
You do not have to be Superwoman. Ask for some help.
Thank you. Thank you. I think this is so critical. Listen, we're out of time. But again, as I started out, I'll say it again. The Bible says that God wants us to be in good health as our soul prospers. Let me take a minute to thank again my guest and one of our super doctors, again, Dr. Delicia Pruitt, medical doctor for Saginaw County Health Department. Let me thank again, my engineer, Mr. Matthew Lester, KISS 107 Alpha Media. Let me thank you. New Life, I love you. Thank you for always tuning in. You always got my back. Saginaw African American pastors, thank you for this privilege. Saginaw, let's get in shape. Let's get healthy, because as we get healthy, our community become healthy as well. God bless you. Again, may heaven smile upon you. That's our prayer.